Welcome, educators. I am just so incredibly glad you're here with us today. Now, we spend a whole lot of time in this space diving into the mechanics of teaching, right? We talk about the data, the instructional strategies, the heavy research. But right now, for this explainer, I want to share a deeply personal concept from my reflections on the science of reading. We are focusing on the letter Y. And Y, my friends, is for you. We're going to set a really warm, reflective tone today as we explore the beautiful and, yes, sometimes incredibly challenging realities of what 20 years in the classroom actually looks and feels like.
You know, if you've been in this profession for any length of time, you know this truth deep in your bones. Teaching taught me that lesson plans matter, absolutely, but people matter more. I really want to bring us back to the core of our profession today. We all know that classroom management is vital. We know that mastering those state standards is a non-negotiable part of the job. But here is the absolute crucial point. The teacher standing in front of that room every single day matters deeply. More than the perfect lesson plan and way more than the newest, shiniest curriculum. You matter. But of course, acknowledging that doesn't mean the work is always easy. In fact, it can test you in ways literally nothing else can.
Let me share a pretty vulnerable classroom connection from my own journey. Imagine being moved from school to school. Not because of your performance, but simply due to FTE or full-time equivalent changes. The classic last hired, first moved situation. It's an incredibly jarring experience, kind of making you feel like you're constantly starting over from scratch. Well, in one particular move, I landed in a fourth grade classroom after the school year had already begun, and the mix, 19 boys, 6 girls, and some incredibly heavy, significant behavior concerns. Now, I was strong with classroom management. I knew exactly how to build relationships and create structure. I walked in there thinking, oh, I've got this. But the reality, that class totally kicked my butt. Every dependable strategy I had, calling parents, taking away recess, rewarding, reteaching, resetting, it all completely failed.
I mean, have you ever felt this yourself? I was tired. I was frustrated. I was overwhelmed. I felt like I had given everything I had, and it still was not enough. That was my moment of absolute burnout. It was the moment I literally walked down the hall to a fellow teacher and stated, with full conviction, that I was going to leave and never return. I meant it. The tank was completely, 100% empty.
But here is where the story shifts, and it really reveals the profound power of leadership and empathy. My principal at the time, Mr. Wilkerson, saw that I had hit my absolute limit, and instead of telling me to just toughen up or figure it out, he did something truly extraordinary. He told me to go home, and he personally stepped in and taught my class for the rest of the day. He did not shame me. He didn't make me feel weak. He stepped in when I needed help. He gave me that vital space I needed to just go home, to cry, to pray, and to really reflect on what I was doing.
And you know what? Because I was given that space, I was actually able to return. When I came back to that classroom, I channeled my absolute inner Miss Viola swamp from Miss Nelson is Missing. Oh yeah, if you know, you know. I came back with renewed structure, unshakable authority, incredibly firm boundaries, and an entirely different mindset. Now, was it a perfect year after that? No, definitely not. But I finished it. And going through divorce, moving, and single motherhood during that time, I learned that life doesn't stop just because you're a teacher. But the students, they're always waiting. They need a teacher who will just keep showing up.
So you might be wondering, how does this deeply personal journey connect to something as technical as the science of reading? Well, let's look at it. On one side, we have programs, standards, and curriculum. And on the other, we have people. Listen, we can talk all day long about phonics, decoding, fluency, comprehension, and structured literacy. Those are the tools, and they're great tools. But the crucial takeaway is this. Programs do not teach children. Standards do not teach children. Curriculum does not teach children. People do. You do.
Which brings us to a really absolutely crucial definition. The teacher is the essential bridge between science of reading research and a student's actual classroom experience. The science of reading gives us the evidence and the solid research, yes, but educators are the ones who actually make that research real. You are the one who turns that dry academic knowledge into living, breathing instruction, and then turns that instruction into measurable student growth. Without you, the research, it just sits in a binder gathering dust.
Think about what bringing that research to life actually looks like in practice. This is the daily, gritty, beautiful work you do. You are the one physically sitting there listening to students read. You are the one scanning your small group and noticing the exact moment when a concept just isn't clicking in a child's eyes. You are the one pivoting on the fly to reteach the skill. You're the one celebrating those small wins that keep a discouraged reader going. And most importantly, you are the one building the relationship that helps a child truly believe, I can do this. That is how you implement literacy strategies every single day.
And yes, the work is incredibly hard. Lessons are going to flop, students are going to challenge you, but this right here is how you guarantee student success. You make a difference when you show up. You make a difference when you teach with clarity. You make a difference when you use data to actually respond to what your students need. You make a difference when you absolutely refuse to let students sit in unfinished learning. And you make a difference when you see the child behind the behavior. Listen, you don't have to be perfect to make a difference. You just have to be willing to keep learning and keep showing up.
Let's just pause for a second for a little teacher reflection moment. I want you to really think about this. What if every single student you teach has been intentionally assigned to you? Looking back at my own career, I had this really profound realization. Every student, especially the ones who challenged me the very most, the ones who needed extra love, extra structure, extra patience, they were placed in my path for a reason. Not by accident, not by coincidence, assigned. There is purpose in the assignment, guys, even when you feel like you are literally just trying to survive the school year.
And that leads perfectly into a second reflective question for us. How does realizing teaching as a calling, a ministry, and a legacy change how you view your purpose? When you stop seeing teaching as just a job or a profession and start seeing it as a legacy, it completely reimagines your love for the work. It helps you see right past the daily struggles, the endless paperwork, and the absolute exhaustion. You are shaping lives here. You are opening doors that are going to stay open for generations.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with these teacher affirmations directly from my own reflections. I want you to really hold on to these. I am called to this work for a purpose. I make a difference every single day. My presence matters in the lives of my students. I do not have to be perfect to be impactful, and I am leaving a legacy every time I teach. Please, protect your passion, take care of yourself, ask for help when you need it, just like I had to, and keep reflecting on your practice. Never, ever underestimate the power of the teacher in the room.
And I'll leave you with this final, incredibly powerful thought to take with you today. Every student you teach has been placed in your path for a reason. You were made for this. Because you know what? For some students, you may be the very reason they finally believe they can read. You might be the reason they finally believe they are smart. The work matters. The students matter. And most importantly, you matter. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Take a deep breath, lift your head up, and trust your purpose. Keep making that difference.